Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Today, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Ricks with us, and she will be speaking on I Matter 2, providing support to individuals who are former foster youth and formerly incarcerated. So again, thank you so much for being here with us today, for joining this breakout session, and we will turn it over to Dr. Ricks. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. You could have been anywhere else, but yet you are here. It is good to see your beautiful and lovely faces, even though none of you have your cameras on, but I can see your pictures. So thank you again for being here. I am going to start out by introducing myself and telling you just a little bit about who I am so that you can understand the context of the information that I am going to present to you today. So I am a healing vessel. I am a woman of faith. I know my purpose on life is to speak life and to individuals so that they can experience healing and wellness. And I was called for a purpose, and I know that purpose is to help others. I am a counselor with Fresno Unified, and where I provide services to children and their families to meet their holistic needs. And I am an entrepreneur, and I work with young boys, teens, to help them discover their true identity through storytelling, self-discovery, and self-exploration. And so through those different avenues or positions that I hold, I am able to speak life into others and encourage them to be their best selves. I am an author. I have authored 2 children's books. One, I Am Valuable. It's a story about my life in foster care as a child. And then I Am Determined is a story of resilience, courage, and bravery, and never giving up on one's dream. So it's a combination of different stories of the children that I work with who have experienced some hardships and who are resilient in the midst of their adversities. I am a mother of a 14-year-old, Lord help me. If any of you have teenagers, you know that they know it all. And so although my son, he sometimes gets on my nerves, he is very well intelligent. He is passionate. He is very outspoken. And so he actually did save my life. I was in a place at my lowest when I had him, and the light bulb turned on as soon as I found out that I was pregnant. And so I am grateful to be called his mother. I am a professional. So I know a little bit about what I'm doing, what I'm talking about. And through my various avenues of professional development, I am able to live in my purpose and carry that out. And I'm very determined to help individuals transform their lives. And so I truly believe that I am a transformational leader. And all that I do, I make sure that I keep the servant leadership hat on, because I know I was born to serve, and I get to serve, and I get the opportunity to do it. So I'm grateful for that. And lastly, I am the daughter of a very interesting man. Although you see his illegal qualities on the screen, he very well had some great traits and some characteristics that were embedded in my DNA. So even though my dad, he was a pimp, a gangster, a gang member, a hustler, which led to ultimately his murder, he birthed me And through his blood, I am living out his dream. And I came from greatness. I truly believe that. This picture right here, I think I was maybe 13, and he was in an Arkansas prison. And my grandmother, she drove to us to go see him. And so that was one of maybe the last times I saw him, just before he was murdered. But that gives you some context about, me being a former foster youth and coming from a family that was involved in the criminal justice system. And so navigating those two worlds, you can imagine, was quite difficult for me. And so as we get started, before we get started, and it's always the counselor in me that wants to connect with people before I begin presenting. So as you can see on the screen, I want you to type in the chat box your position, one food that you can eat for the rest of your life. And then if you were a gardener and you could grow any flower, which flower would you grow? And so go ahead and start typing your answers in the chat, your position, one food that you could eat for the rest of your life. And then if you were a gardener and could grow any flower, which flower would you grow? Okay, and Dr. Dorian, I don't see, can you put which flower? I see you put English tutoring. And I'll read just some of your answers. Ice cream. Okay, Julie. Yes, ice cream is very good. Sunflowers, assisted pizza. Okay, orchids. Nachos. Nachos are so delicious. I'm hungry now. All right. Coconut cream pie. Wow, that's interesting. Pizza. Okay. Pizza. Sandwiches. Tacos. Though, I mean, you can't lose with tacos, right? Tacos are amazing. I love tacos. So as you continue to type in the chat, thank you so much for participating. I will eat French fries forever. Okay, yes, succulents or orchids. All right. And so as we begin to think about the work that we do, this work, especially working in the helping profession and working amongst individuals and supporting individuals, this work is very emotionally charged. It is very challenging. It is very difficult because we are helping people, and essentially we don't know who those people are. And sometimes people come to us with everything that they have, and it is very challenging to navigate spaces sometimes and get them the services that we need. And so sometimes we want this work to be easy, and I'm very guilty of that. I'm like, I want it easy. I don't want it hard. I don't want any challenging things. And so sometimes sunflowers are the easiest flowers to grow, and sometimes we will sit and say, I just want all the easy stuff. Just give me all the easy stuff. But the easy stuff does not allow us to grow. It does not stretch us. It does not challenge us. It does not allow us to think outside the box and be creative and innovative. And so sometimes in this work, we just want the easy stuff. But on the right, we have miniature roses, which are one of the hardest flowers to grow. And that takes a lot of work. it takes a lot of planting. It takes a lot of, water and nurturing. And sometimes the plant, it doesn't grow right or it dies and we have to start all over. And so sometimes it is very hard to plant the roses, the miniature roses. But as you can see, when we do the work and we do it right, it grows into this beautiful flower. It grows into this beautiful thing. And so as you're listening to this presentation, I want you to self-reflect on, what is your sometimes? Do you want it easy? Do you want to sit in your comfortability? Do you not want to be challenged? Or do you want to see the fruits of your labor when you work hard and you're able to help individuals become their best self, which takes a lot of work? And so I'm going to stop sharing just for a bit, and I want you to continue to think about if you were a gardener, okay? So if you were a gardener and I came to you and I said, Erica, Laura, Jennifer, Misty, Terry, I'm just reading some of your names, Cheryl, Rosemary. If I came to you and I said, you know what, can you plant me a flower in this pot? If I came to you and I said, can you plant me a flower in this pot? What would you initially think? What would your initial thoughts be? Go ahead and type them in the chat. If I said, hey, I need you to plant me a flower in this pot, what would your initial thoughts be? And go ahead and type your answers in the chat. Looking at this pot, I need you to grow me a flower in this pot. Okay, but it's broken. We need to fix the pot first. It's too small. Glue it together. Fix the pot. Okay. Your pot is broken. Let me get you a new one. Okay. So how would you feel? Now, how would you feel if you were this pot right here and you were falling apart and, how would you feel? How would you feel being this pot? Useless. Not good enough. I would want to be whole. Yeah, so I'm still going to, why do you want me to fail? Ooh, unfixable. Different from the other pots. Wow, those are good. Undesirable. Good answers. Now, I want you to imagine the former foster youth who were formerly incarcerated, right? I want you to imagine that this is them, because this is how they come to you. This is how they come to college, right? Broken into pieces. And that's how they feel, undesirable, unfixable, right? Why did anybody want me to fail? Why is this me? And sometimes they even come to us like this, right? Just a complete mess. Sometimes they come to us like this. And throughout their lives, they have been searching and wondering, why am I so undesirable? Why am I different from the other pots? I'm unfixable, so I might as well not try. I'm broken. I'm not good enough. I'm useless. And so they're believing not only their thoughts that come from within them, they're believing what their family members have said about them. They're believing what the criminal justice system has said about them. And so when they try to grow, right, because they need soil and water and nutrients to grow, right? When they try to grow, it doesn't happen. It's just a complete mess. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And so when they come to us like this, they are looking for us to help support them. They are looking for us because we have the glue, right? We have the glue to put them back together. And as you begin to work with these individuals, you will begin to think outside the box and say, wait a minute, I can't get a new person, right? Because somebody said, just get a new one. I can't get a new person. So I have to improvise and use the tools that I have so that I can help this person put themselves back together again, right? So yes, I have some skills, I have some tools, I have some resources. So let me do what I can to help this person put themselves back again. So then now they're still missing a piece and you're like, oh, this piece, it's out of my realm of practice. I don't have the glue to put that together, but I know somebody else who has stronger glue, right? And so you connect them to somebody else who has stronger glue. And so you're like, oh, I know such and such, they can help you with this, one thing. I can refer you to this service that will help you be your best self, right? I know this person who can help you put yourself back together again. So you refer them to that person, and all of a sudden, they start to look a little different. They start to look a little different, right? They start to feel a little better. Even though they still have some cracks, they are not as broken as they once came to us. So we, as professionals, we have the glue. We have the resources, because if they had the glue, they would come to us as whole beings. But because they don't, and they don't have the resources, or they've been rejected, they are looking for us to help them put themselves back together so then they can begin to put the soil and grow in good conditions and flourish and be the best person that they can be. So as you begin to think about the work that you do with people, with former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated, I want you to remember that they're not coming to us together, all put together. They're not coming to us whole. They're coming to us broken. They're coming to us in shambles. They're coming to us incomplete. But as Tupac Shakur said, we shouldn't ask why a rose that grew from the concrete for having damaged petals. In turn, we would all celebrate its tenacity. We would all love its will to reach the sun. Well, and I'm talking about former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated, are the roses. This is the concrete, the injustices, the oppression, the trauma, the racism, the inequities. And these are my damaged petals. Don't ask me why, thank God, and ask me how. And so as we begin to think about the work that we do with these individuals, we need to celebrate them for being there. We need to celebrate their tenacity, their resilience for showing up, and not asking why, but asking how. How are you able to continue to come back after all that you have been through? And so I want to just paint a little picture for you. And I know some of you know this data, but since 1990, California alone has built 4 universities, 6 community colleges, 15 state prisons, and 5 federal prisons. So they have built 2 prisons to 1 college in California in the last 30 years. So when we begin to think about these numbers, we begin to think about priorities and where lawmakers and policymakers put their money and attention to. Because instead of building prisons, we can build rehabilitation centers. Instead of building prisons, we can put more money into mental health and helping individuals who experience trauma heal from the trauma that they have experienced. Instead of building prisons, we can pour money into nonprofits who help children who are in the inner cities, who live in poverty, who experience unfavorable outcomes. We can put our money where the need is instead of building prisons, because we are able to, we have the resources. And so, but this comes down to a matter of where is our importance in? Where do we begin to put our resources in? What matters most to us in California? And so as I look at these numbers, I can see we value putting people in prisons than in college. Which should not be we should not value that. We should value helping others. We should value investing in others. We should value developing others. And I'll leave it at that. And so a lot of times when former foster youth who are also formerly incarcerated individuals, they come with this big backpack of stuff when they come to us. And as you can see on the left and the right screen, they are coming to us. Sometimes this population is a little bit older because of the experiences that they had, because they maybe dropped out of high school and had to go back. Maybe they dropped out of college and had to go back. They had involvement in the criminal system where it prevented them from going straight to college. And so a lot of time this population is older and they have a lot of varying in experiences when they come to us. So they're working or possibly not because they're involved in they were involved in the criminal system. They have children, they're the head of household, they're married, they have self-belief issues because, I was in foster care. My parents, they didn't want me or they gave up on me. So I have trouble believing in myself. And because I have trouble believing in myself, the imposter syndrome comes. I don't even belong here. What am I doing here? This is not for me. And so they go through that process and that toxic cycle of not believing in their abilities. Also, they might experience unstable housing because parole and probation restrictions, depending on the crime that they were involved in. They might experience lack or barriers to resources because of the stipulations that they have for parole or probation. Lack of professional development, because we know that jobs oftentimes, majority of the times, look into your background. They do a background check. And so I can't develop as a professional if I'm never giving an opportunity to be employed. identity issues. Who am I? Who am I to be in college? Who am I as this formerly incarcerated former foster youth person? They might have some gang affiliation that now they're in college, they want to escape, but we know from being in a gang, there's really no way of escaping that. Rejection after rejection after rejection because of the label that I carry or somebody put on me, and restrictions. Sometimes these individuals who are formerly incarcerated are on parole and probation, and sometimes they have to leave college at the drop of a dime because their parole officer is like, I'm at your house, you need to be here. And so they have to miss class. They have to miss school. They might miss a test because of the restrictions that they have upon them. And so if we can imagine all of these factors that they are coming into us with, on top of being Black, on top of being Latino, on top of being LGBTQ, on top of being a veteran, on top of being disabled, and on top of being a first generational college student, this is overwhelming. And as I'm hearing me speak, it is overwhelming for me to even take in all of these factors and be a whole and healthy, thriving human being. If I had to carry all this stuff, which I've carried a lot of this stuff, because I was in the foster care system from age 7 to 18. So I carried a lot of these factors with me to college. And so I was carrying re-entering college because I dropped out. I was carrying being a single parent. I was carrying working 60 plus hours a week and still being a full-time student. I was carrying the self-belief issues and imposter syndrome. I was carrying unresolved trauma. And so carrying all of that and having to go to college and be in a space with other people that don't look like me, other people who have stereotypical beliefs about me, instructors who carry microaggressions and biases. It is overwhelming and hard. And so we know that in the middle and even at the top, these individuals are our most vulnerable population. And we have the data and we know the data. And so the most vulnerable populations need the most support. They need the most resources and the most results. And so we as helping professionals, we have to think of ways to fill the deficit gaps that we see in our data, because they are carrying the most stuff and they need the most help. So I was doing a presentation, I don't know, about a week or two ago, and I was speaking to former foster youth, and this one former foster youth, he spoke and he was also formerly incarcerated. And it broke my heart when he said this, because he said college and jail are the same. They are both businesses and they don't help you. And so can you imagine just hearing those words from the people that we say that we're going to serve, the people that are the most vulnerable? In his experience, he didn't experience the help. He felt like there was no help. He felt like college operated just as a business and was collecting money just to house him. And so as we begin to reflect on this comment, we can be able to start to think about the individuals that are on our campuses that we serve and interact with, and the things that they are going through, so that we can better assist them and getting them the supports that they need. So if you live in California and you're a former foster youth who is also formerly incarcerated, you will likely experience homelessness, poverty, unwanted pregnancies, mental health issues, unemployment, re-entry, complex trauma, hunger, suicidal ideations. And California is the largest state, or the state that former foster youth and formerly incarcerated individuals experience the most unfavorable outcomes. And there's more unfavorable outcomes than what is listed on this slide. But California, that is rich in resources, yet we have individuals who are 4 and 5 times more likely to experience these things. And if you're Black and Latino, you're 6, 7 times more likely to experience these things. And so I just want to give you a little context about what these individuals experience and what they go through, so that we can be reminded, especially when we show up for them, so that we can be reminded that they need the most support. They need the best us to show up for them, because they are more likely to experience these outcomes. And so a lot of times when they do experience these outcomes, and then when they do come with trauma, this is how they show up in our classrooms. This is how they show up in our environment. They show up and we will see them isolate themselves because they feel like they don't fit in, or they just want to be left alone, or somebody reminds me of a person that harmed me in the past, or somebody reminds me of a family member or a relative who made a promise to me and they broke the promise. And so they will isolate themselves and stay away from people, and also withdraw from others to keep themselves safe, because our number one goal as human beings is to protect ourselves and make sure that we are safe first, safety first. And so a lot of times you will see these individuals and they will be withdrawn, they will isolate, and sometimes they are easily triggered, especially when they are coming with that formerly incarcerated hat, because they always have to be on alert. They always have to be looking out. They always have to be in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so what trauma does, it doesn't allow them to be their best self. It doesn't allow them to access their prefrontal cortex, which has all our executive functioning, our planning, our decision-making. And so they are easily triggered. They have social deficits. They might not know how to articulate some things because there's a gap in their learning. They might not know how to interact with others because they might look at me differently. They might see me as weird, or they might label me, or they might shame me. Other times they might be busy. And just, involving themselves in a lot of things. And that's what trauma does. And that's what I did. I'm like, oh, I want to be in this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, because I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. Because what trauma also does is when you are idle and when you're sitting alone by yourself, those negative thoughts come up. And so in order to overcome that, I have to keep myself busy. I have to do this and I have to do that so that I will not be able to experience those negative thoughts. And sometimes they will just go completely absent because it's too hard. It's too stressful for them. And so this is how they show up in our classrooms. This is how they show up in our spaces. And sometimes we are turning our wheels and spinning our wheels, trying to figure out what is going on. And it is the trauma. Trauma doesn't allow us to be our best selves. Trauma very so much impacts us so profoundly that we will escape relationships that we know we need, but we will push people away in order to protect ourselves. Sorry about that. And so this is how they show up in our spaces. And because they show up in our spaces like this, I'm going to give you some more information. So only 25% of former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated will attend college after graduating high school. And out of that 25%, about 10% of them will drop out within the first 2 years due to barriers and challenges. And so some of the barriers are, I don't have anybody to watch my children. I'm taking care of my sickly parent and I don't have anybody to watch them. I am the breadwinner of my family and college is just not paying me enough, or I'm not getting enough financial aid or services from colleges, so I have to drop out. I have transportation issues because sometimes if I'm formerly incarcerated, I might have stipulations where I can't drive a car. And so it's hard for me to get transportation. And I don't want to catch the bus because I'm paranoid. And especially if I'm gang affiliated, I don't want to catch the bus because I don't want to run into the chances of interacting with those from rivalry gangs. So these are all the things that prevent former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated from experiencing academic success. And so they drop out and they leave school. Another 10% will experience academic issues that will cause delays in achievement. And so when I go absent, I'm not doing my homework or I don't have the access to tutors that I need. And so I'm just going to drop out because it's too hard and I'm just going to give up. And so those 10% will lose another 10%. So by the time, graduation comes, only roughly about 2 to 6% of these individuals will graduate each year from college and on time with their cohort year. And so as we begin to look at these numbers, because we have the numbers, they're in the CalPAS data. So as we begin to look at these numbers, which happens year after year after year, we have to begin to think of creative ways to engage these individuals so that we can keep that 25% and begin to increase it, or we can increase at least the 6% and go to 10. So I want you to remember that former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated, they have the least likely outcomes in our college systems. And so the Center for Community Alternatives says many colleges and universities continue to include questions about criminal history on their application. Research has shown that the inclusion of criminal history questions on college application deters would-be students from even completing the application process, and that applicants face discrimination based on their criminal history. And so that is one of the determinants for these individuals, because although I want to get my life together, although they say education is the key to success, yet when I go to apply, the very system that says that I need an education and promotes education prevents me because I made an error. So something needs to change. Our policies, our laws, the way we ask questions on our applications need to change. And so this session is about supporting former foster youth who are formerly incarcerated. And so one of the things that needs to happen in order for us to support these individuals is healing. These individuals, they need safe places to heal. They need you to be trauma informed and to provide trauma informed care and understand how trauma impacts the brain and the body and the ways in which we behave. They need help with self-identity and self-belief issues because, like I said, they are carrying around this backpack full of stuff that is heavy, that is weighing them down, and they do not believe sometimes that they can make it. They need encouragement to set healthy boundaries because a lot of times individuals who are in trauma do not have those healthy boundaries. That's why we can see those absences and those withdrawn individuals, because sometimes, yes, I want to hang out with my friends because they understand me most, and my professor, they don't connect with me, or my counselor, they're not reaching out to me, or I don't have a relationship with the people at the college, so then I'm going to go back to the people that have the same labels as me because they get me and they understand me. And sometimes it will get me back in trouble, but that's my support system. And they need forgiveness to overcome their past. So they need these healing spaces to ensure that we don't continue to lose them year after year. Also, and sometimes, because I work in education and because this is what I experience and this is what I see, education is all about academia. It's all about the academics and making sure that students achieve educational success, but that's not effective at all. And so because I'm coming to you as a whole person, I'm coming to you with whole needs, and I'm coming to you with my whole self. So my whole self is very much mental, social, emotional, and spiritual. And when we begin to neglect those aspects of the individual, we will see a decline in enrollment. We will see a decline in persistence rates. We will see the dropout rates because although I'm coming to you as a whole person, I'm not getting my whole needs met. So yes, when I'm in college, I do expect for my mentors or my teachers, my instructors, or, these people, the staff members and the programs that I'm in, to intentionally check on me because I need those check-ins. I need that self-discipline. I need someone to help me keep myself accountable because it's so easy to slip back into those behaviors that are not conducive for me. I need to be exposed to different avenues that will help me succeed. And I need to be exposed to people who look like me too, and who have similar experiences as I do, so that I can see myself in that person and believe I too can achieve. I need to be connected to others who have resources that will help me get to the place where I need to be and to help me be my best self. I need mentoring, and I need intentional mentoring. I need targeted counseling where my counselor specializes in helping individuals who have similar circumstances as me. And this counselor has that experience and they have that expertise, so that I won't be looking around for somebody else who has that specialization. I need to be loved. I need to be loved as you love others. And not only do I need to be loved, I need you to seek your own healing, because sometimes we unintentionally harm individuals when we are not whole, when we have not healed from our own trauma. And so I need you to heal from your past and your pain and your trauma, so that you can be your best self, so that you can give your best to me. So I need a safe space to heal. I need to be affirmed. And I need you to model good soul and self-care, because sometimes I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is to take care of myself. Myself, Dr. Ricks, didn't learn how to take care of myself and what good soul care was until I was, a few years ago, about 3 years ago. And I need you to be generous. I need to see your heart in this work. If your heart is not in this work, I'm going to feel it. And it's going to show up in the way that you show up for me. So how you show up for others is a direct correlation of how you show up for yourself. So if I'm not showing up for myself as my best, I can guarantee that I won't show up for others and be my best for them. And so these individuals, they don't need you to say they care about you. They need your investment. They need your time. They need your patience. They need your energy. They need you to check your biases, because sometimes that prevents us from providing the best support and the best services. And those biases and those microaggressions that we hold and that we have, they do more harm, and these individuals end up going into self-isolation and they drop out. So it's not all about supporting and what you can do. I mean, the majority of it is about for former foster youth who are formally educated. It's also about you checking you and checking who you are and healing from your stuff and making sure that you are generous and providing love and being forgiving and giving grace and having patience with these individuals. So yes, the majority of this work is about supporting these individuals, but you got to do the inner work as well. Because if you're not healthy and whole and well, you will not be able to give it to others. And so I just created just a little to-do list for higher ed regarding these individuals. And I'm not going to read them all because I want to make sure that I have time for questions, Q&A. So I want to just point out some things that we can very well do. Meet people who they are, where they are. Meet students where they are. We cannot expect a former foster youth who is formerly incarcerated to be at the same plight as we are. So meet them where they are. See them for who they are. Remove the criminal questions off admissions, because like the research said, it deters them from even applying for college. Hire consultants with similar experiences. So these individuals will feel connected to the content. It is very hard for you to talk about an experience that you've never experienced. So these individuals need to see people who look like them, who has had their similar experiences, to speak life into them. And also create a targeted mentoring program that has robust educational services so that it is a one-stop shop for these individuals so they can go and get their needs met. I want to, as I'm closing, I want for you to reflect on this thought from a formerly incarcerated individual who happens to be my good friend, one of my good friends, Misty Franklin. She says, "See me for who I am, not what I did in my past. I deserve to be free from my mistakes. I deserve to be forgiven for my errors. I deserve a second chance." And when these individuals come to us broken like this pot, they don't need more guilt. They don't need more shame, because they've already have beaten themselves down and continue to beat themselves down. They need grace. They need for you to see them as human beings. And so as we close, I want you to self-reflect on this question right here. So reflect on what influence, power, authority, or ability do I have that can change and help transform the lives of former foster youth and formerly incarcerated individuals. So what authority and power and ability do you have so that you can help these individuals? So as we close, I will leave you with these thoughts that are on the screen. And unmotivated individuals cannot fully support others. So with that, I will take questions. And thank you so much for listening and being here. All right, I am ready to take questions. Thank you so much for sharing.
So if there are any questions, if you can put them in the Q&A, or I think you mentioned Dr. Ricks about they can just possibly raise their hand or just unmute themselves.
Yes, you can definitely unmute yourself. I see Jennifer, she says, what do you feel are some of the best resources we should be aware of as instructors? Well, it depends on what campus you're on. So I know there might be some of you who are at the university level and some of you are at the community college level. There are reentry services for students at some of the colleges that provide them with legal services. There are also mentoring programs. I know Simba is at Fresno City College, which is a great program for African American men. And they are able to access mentoring. But you can be a resource as an instructor. Like I said, you can do all those things. You can check in with these individuals. You can be generous to these individuals. You can provide them with love. You can be understanding to their situation, because sometimes, like I said, when they go absent, I don't have anyone to watch my child. And a lot of times when I went back to school, sometimes I had to bring my son to school with me because I didn't have a babysitter. And I needed my instructor to understand, in order for me to be here, I have to bring my son. And some of the times my mentors or people that I was in programs with, the staff, they had to watch my son. And I was very grateful that they did that. But sometimes individuals, they don't have these resources or they don't have these supports. So these individuals need you to be understanding of their situation, because they're coming to you with all their it's not like they can stop being a parent or they can remove the formerly incarcerated label or remove the parole. They need understanding. They need grace. So a lot of times as an instructor, you can provide those very resources that they need. That was a good question, Jennifer.
So I see another. Do you want to read it, or how do you?
I can read it. One of the biggest
Okay.
challenges has been to get youth who have experienced foster care to utilize available resources. Do you have any practices that you can suggest to increase the likelihood that they would use them? And that's a very valid point, because sometimes they just want to be left alone because they have been in environments with adults that said they loved them and cared about them, but yet they continue to harm them. So there's a big distrust or mistrust when these individuals come to college campuses. One of the things that you can do is, like I said, intentionally check in with them. And be authentic with your check-ins, and not asking them, because one of the things I believe that turns former foster youth and individuals who are formerly incarcerated off is when you ask them about their story. Don't ask me about my story because I don't want to talk about it. I don't have that relationship with you to even share that part of me. Get to know me as a person. And let them know of the support that you have. A lot of times these individuals need monetary support, or like I said, they need daycare support because they are parents. And so I believe if you have a menu or a list of resources that can help them, that will be better, so that they can know, oh, I can go here when I need this. Oh, I can go here when I need this. Because a lot of times like I said, they're already withdrawn. They want to isolate because of the trauma that they have experienced. So one of the things that I believe needs to happen in higher ed is that there needs to be a course, especially for individuals who have experienced trauma, that it's a requirement for them to be enrolled in so that they can begin to heal. Because when I'm not healthy, when I'm not whole, when I'm not healed, I'm going to isolate. I am going to make every excuse not to build a relationship with you. But if I have avenues to help me heal, and when I'm understanding what's going on in my brain and my body, when I'm triggered, or, as I navigate life, I'm more able to replace those negative experiences with the information and the experiences, the positive experience that I have, so that I can break down those walls that I have up. So I believe that a trauma-informed course for individuals who do access these programs is very much needed at the higher educational level. And not only just the trauma-informed classes, but also help with self-identity and self-exploration and self-development, which is missing from higher ed. And so when I'm able to understand who I am, when I'm able to develop and self-reflect on who I am, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be more confident. I'm going to have that belief in myself. So at the higher educational level, there needs to be avenues and ways for these students to access courses that will allow them to develop personally, not just academically. Good question, Veronica. I'm sorry, there's a student in my classroom, and he's just talking and talking. So if you see me going like this, I'm like, I'm on the Zoom, I'm presenting. Any other questions? Or any comments?
Dr. Ricks, hi there. I wanted to thank you in general for your excellent and awe-inspiring and empowering presentation. And not so much a question, but just a comment. You said many things that stood out to me, but one thing I did want to share that most stood out to me was when you talked about how essentially how can you help a student if you can't relate to the lived experience, right? And so I don't know, I was hoping maybe you can talk to us a little more about why it's important for individuals to learn about the traumatic experience of former foster youth students, and considering the intersecting identities that you've been talking about, right? The racialized experiences of foster youth, right? And it's like the oppression Olympics. Dr. Frank Harris refers to as, right? It's if you're Black or Latinx and you're foster youth and you're formerly incarcerated, it's like the oppression Olympics, right? You have barrier on top of barrier to navigate through. So just was hoping you could unpack that a little more for us and talk to us why it's so important to learn about the realities and the experiences that that foster youth and students go through.
Yeah, good question. So it is not that I can't support you if I don't have that experience, because you still can provide support to individuals who are formerly incarcerated or former foster youth or Black or Latino. But when we want to be most effective, when we want to decrease the gaps, when we want to get more outcomes from this population, it is very important that I see people who look like me, especially in leadership positions, and with people who have my experience. Because it's easy for people to say, oh, you can just do, why can't you do it? because you don't know, you haven't lived my experience. You don't, it's easy for you to say that because you haven't did it. And when you're talking about that racialized, and we are very much in a racially, we're in racial tensions right now as we see it playing out in society, especially with the latest shootings of Adam Toledo and Dante Wright. And so a lot of times when you don't look like me, you don't understand my anger. You don't understand that I've had similar experiences with the police or with white individuals. And so you're not understanding where my anger is coming from. But if we are human enough to, I think we have lost our humanity. Some of us have lost our humanity when we can look at a person and we can say, well, he deserved it, or well, she shouldn't have did this, or she shouldn't have. Where is our humanity? And you know, and so this is one of the reasons why people who have these experiences need others who can support them as faculty, as staff, because they understand. When I'm more understanding to your experiences, I can provide that grace because I've been there. I see you. I know you, right? When I have that experience, I am able to reach out to other resources and connect you to people who have things or support services that can help you be your best self. Because I've been in that situation and I know people, you know, and I've accessed these services. So it's very important that we have these individuals at the table helping us make these decisions, because you can't speak about an experience that you've never been in. And you can't fully support me if you don't know me. So this is why it's important. And like I said, if we want the best results, if we want to decrease those gaps, we must be able to provide these individuals with representation, with people who look like them, and not just at the faculty level. They need to be at the leadership level too. They need seats at the table so their voices can be heard. Because when you're sitting at the table and you're deciding outcomes and strategic planning for former foster youth and formerly incarcerated individuals, and nobody at the table has the experience, you're going to miss something. We're going to keep continuing to see them go through the cracks of our system because there's nobody at the table that can speak for them, and they don't have that experience. So that's why it's important. Good question, Ray. We have about five more minutes. Jennifer, I see your question.
Hi, Dr. Deshunna. This is I'm Jennifer, and I appreciate you being here. And I'm just soaking all this up from you in the last and yesterday. But I just wanted to say that my life, somehow the trajectory of my instruction has gone in this direction of talking about this topic, meeting people who are involved in this topic, meeting someone who I've become very good friends with, who spent 20 years in prison, convicted of a crime as a juvenile. And so now it's like my whole, everything I see is connected to this. So all that you're talking about and that awareness of being empathetic and compassionate and seeing these people and their humanity and checking my own biases and looking back at the kind of teacher I have been in the past, having certain expectations for my students and not giving them the kind of breaks that now I understand, based on where they come from. But as an instructor, like in my class, I feel like I need certain tools, not just that I have compassion or not just that I can refer them, but within my class, like very specifically things that I can do to work with them and help them and how to approach them and what kind of resources for myself, to be a better teacher, not just I think I'm a compassionate person, which is what draws me to at-risk students and teaching in the community college and working with students from different walks of life. But you know what I mean? Like, to be a better teacher, what tools that I have that I can use in my classroom and resources for me.
Yeah, I think even when you're listening or say they're not participating and you notice that, I want to check in on you because I haven't heard your voice and your voice is important to me. And if you're reading their papers and you notice that they are not grasping the concept, I want to meet with you. I want to welcome you to office hours so that I can understand where you're coming from, or I can be able to give you more instruction, right? Checking for understanding. And something else is, do you believe in me, right? Because if you believe in me, your approach to me is going to be very different than when you don't believe in me. So when you believe in me, you'll check up on me. When you believe in me, you'll affirm me. When you believe in me, you'll encourage me. And these individuals, although they need all these services, they need financial services, they need social, they need emotional, they need spiritual, they need people to believe in them. Because when I know that you believe in me, I feel that I belong and I feel that I'm significant. And we know the research about belonging and significance in higher ed. When I feel that I matter to the people who say I need to be here, then I can reach success. Then I can be my best self. So we have it in us. We just need to pull it out. And so I know we only have 1 more minute. So I don't want to go over time. And thank you. Thank you all for being here. And I hope through this presentation, you were able to see all the many things that these individuals have to navigate in order just to sit in education, just to sit in this space, right? It's very uncomfortable. It's very challenging. It's very difficult and it's very discouraging, but I'm coming for you, to you, because I know you got the glue. I know you have the glue to help me put myself and put the pieces together. And if I can't get the glue from you, I'm going to get it from somewhere else. And that is our time. Look at the bell, it's so annoying. That is our time. Thank you so much. And remember to refer to, these individuals, not at risk, but at promise, because there is a promise in the midst of their pain, in the midst of their mistakes, in the midst of their past. So we have to also begin to change our language when we are talking about these individuals, so that our language is safe, it's welcoming, it's nurturing, and it's encouraging, and it's inviting. Sorry, I can go on and on and on, but thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Terry. And thank you, Chelsea, for all hosting and interpreting. And like I said, I hope you go away and more encouraged and with more insight and with more drive and determination to help these individuals, because they are our vulnerable population and they have the least favorable outcomes. So they have the most need and they require the most work. So with that, I thank you all again and have an excellent day.
Thank you, Dr. Ricks. Thank you, everyone. We are going on a lunch break, and I have put the links to the next breakout rooms in the chat. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Ricks, for all that you shared with us today and for advocating for us.
Thank you.
Everyone have a wonderful lunch break. We will see you back soon.